It's my sister Jessa and her husband Ben.
What's going on, guys?
I don't know if it's gone exactly like we thought it would go. We knew we wanted to have, a decent number of kids, maybe like 6 or 7 or 8.
I said, I'm number 5. 5 is such a special number in my heart.
And then
we should really have 5.
Then you remembered me.
Actually, I did use that. I said, my best friend was number 6 in the family.
Yeah.
We should really have a number 6.
She did say that
thank you,
many
Jess.
times.
I said that wouldn't work out so well for Josie or something. I was number 19, so.
Oh, mercy.
So historically, we've told y'all the gender of a lot of our babies because y'all are like far away, and I don't feel like people pester you and be like trying to, get it out of you.
Should we tell them right here live on the podcast?
Live.
Maybe
when we
do
cut
the
the
big reveal.
cameras. When we cut the cameras.
Wow, Ben, you're
it's
living on the wild side.
Might as well live on the edge.
Okay, so the gender of your
tell
baby.
us?
What's the gender of your baby?
It's
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Ginger and Jeremy podcast. We're here for another episode, and we've got
my twin. Well, some people would say that she's my twin. I'm actually not a twin, but it's my sister Jessa and her husband Ben.
What's going on, guys?
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks
This is
for
so
being
fun.
on.
And baby Seawald.
Yes.
Baby
Yeah.
Seawald.
Coming July
Number 6.
21st, Lord willing.
Yeah.
And Finnegan is in the room, so if you hear
Little noises.
noises, it's he's smiling at
He's
us.
so happy. That is so cute.
The other kids are running around the house wreaking havoc, probably.
No, they're cleaning the house. They said that they would have it all clean.
Yeah,
It's
they're
going
all
to be pristine. Yeah, by the time we're
No
done,
dust.
it's going to be great.
So how you guys doing?
Doing great. Yeah, we've enjoyed hanging out with you guys, being here in Cali.
It's been a fun week.
Great vacation.
Yes.
Why don't we start out with a little life update from the Seawalds? You guys have kind of been out of the public spotlight for a while. A little bit, right?
Yeah. We've
Like,
been a little busy. I feel like 5 kids has kind of stretched us to the limit. So we for sure, not on social media as much. I think I've been on my YouTube channel twice in the last year. So definitely slowed down.
The people miss you. I think the people miss you, Jess.
Oh,
She's been trying to be on her phone less and just be more present and all that. So,
I give myself 1 minute on Instagram every day. So
You really?
really going crazy.
Wow.
but I have the code.
1 minute?
1 minute.
She gave me the code, and so
1 minute.
it's a great feeling of power.
Well, I gave myself the screen time code first, but then I would just type it in so
Yes.
fast. I would give myself 15 more minutes. Finally, I said, babe, I want you to put the code and I want to have 1 minute. And if I need to,
That's amazing.
post or see something, whatever, then I'll ask him when he gets home in the evening. Just
I might need to do that. I feel like
It's
I might need to do that
helpful.
for a couple months because I'll do that sometimes. But at some point, you get just so captivated by everything that's happening around you. You're just wanting to constantly scroll. And I just keep going back to that. And then I'll be sitting there for an hour scrolling. And I'm like, wait, I just wasted all that time. That was so unprofitable.
Oh, it goes away so fast.
And yeah, especially with your kids around. It's one thing if you're doing work and there's an allotted time where they're not watching you on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're like, oh, you shouldn't be on the phone, we don't want you to have that screen time, then it's convicting to think like, how much time am I spending?
I know.
Well, yeah, and especially like as you think ahead to when they're teenagers, and do we want them on their phones while it's like family time or while we have
Yeah.
guests? Do we want them like staring at the screen?
Totally.
But are we setting a bad example? Like their whole growing up years, have they been seeing us on our screens when they're around and they're trying to get our attention?
Yeah.
And so sometimes what we've done is Jessa, if she needs to do some social media stuff, she'll go over to my office. And that way she's away, she's working. But then when she comes back, it's like, she's not having to do all that in front
That's
of
great.
Sometimes we do that. We need to do a better job, but
Yeah.
Um,
Still got room for growth.
Don't we all?
yeah, we can easily forget. But yeah, trying to keep that in mind, like what kind of example are we setting?
I like it.
What can you accomplish in 1 minute on Instagram? I'm actually really curious about that. Like, what does that scratch the itch for you?
Okay, so
You watch 4 reels and you're out?
you can go in your Instagram and you can turn off like random content showing up in your feed.
Oh,
So it'll just be people who you follow, which I really like. Yeah, but you can
love
only
that.
pause it for 30 days. So you go in the settings and I'll pause it for 30 days. So that way when I do pop on there for a minute, I'll see like, the first 3 posts or something like that.
Mhm.
I'll watch half of an Allie Beth Stuckey reel or something like
You can
that.
see Kristen.
Shout out, Allie Beth.
Ooh, let's go. I
But
love that.
yeah, it just kind of keeps me in check there. Oh, I can add 1 more minute. It'll say add 1 more minute.
Yes, so
And
you
I
get 2 minutes.
I get 2 minutes every
So I've
day.
got a question. So I've tried this before where if I'm spending too much time on Twitter or for a while had my websites I would just do a rotation of. I would go to Twitter, CNN, Fox News, because you got to be balanced.
Yeah.
You go to CNN and there's this world-ending catastrophe. So I go to Fox News. They haven't said anything about it. So I go, okay, it's got to be somewhere in between. And then I would go to ESPN and I would do this cycle.
Every day.
And I'd find myself doing it. So then I cut those out and I was like, okay, I'm not going to go to CNN and Fox News. So then I just replaced it with Drudge Report. So
Right.
do you find yourself going, oh man, look at me, I'm doing good. I'm off Instagram. So now I'm on YouTube Shorts for
Totally.
Yeah. There's always that struggle. It's always, everybody will waste time in their own way, right? We always will have time that will fill. But I've been trying to do more picking up books, physical books whenever I can, over the kids' rest time or whatever, just trying to read more. And I definitely go through spurts. I don't do it perfectly at all, but yeah.
Sometimes it can be so impulsive too. You'll just sit down and out of habit, you won't even be thinking about it. But you'll just pick up your phone and get on the website that you're the first one in your cycle, right? And so
sneezing away over here.
Bless you, Finn. But yeah, sometimes what we've had to do is just say, hey, for the next week, no internet. And it kind of breaks your habit. It breaks your routine. And then you start to sit down and eat lunch and you're not grabbing for your phone by the end of the week or whatever. Yeah. And then it sort of just helps you reset. So we've done that sometimes and that's been helpful.
I love it.
But yeah.
All right, this has been super good and convicting in the first 4 minutes. I hope people don't cut out our podcast. So.
Don't turn off the podcast.
Don't turn
Keep
off the
listening.
podcast.
They have a lot of good things
We're so
to say.
convicted, they just turn it off. So give us a life update. Where are the Seawalds now? Talk about, you've got 5 kids, you got a 6th on the way. What's life look like these days?
Yeah, we're in the thick of just parenting and homeschooling. Our oldest 3 are in school now. And so that's probably part of the pressure to be off my phone more, just be more present, be more in tune to what we need to get done in a day. And he's been pastoring full time for 5 years now.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's been 5 years since you started pastoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time's flown by. You know what we were saying the other day is that's half as long as we've been married.
Whoa.
Wow.
Half our
Well, it's crazy that you've been married 10 years.
I know.
How is that possible?
And you just turned 30 by the
Spurgeon's-
time this comes out.
Yeah.
And Spurgeon's 10 now.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
I'm
Almost
five.
10. Almost 10. He's not 10
Yeah.
yet.
Hey, I remember this, Jessa, looking just like you did when we first kind of hung out. When we
Yes.
first met, you were just
Yes.
announced you were pregnant.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, I came up to Dallas to visit you guys at the conference, and you were looking more like you are now.
Yeah, we came
With
down and
Spurgeon.
visited you in Laredo, and I remember you took a photo of Ben and I on the Rio there, and I had the big, Spurgeon was very about due. Yeah,
Wow. That's crazy.
It's wild that that's 10 years ago.
I
Man,
know.
yeah.
Oh, my word.
And so much has changed, but then nothing's changed.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
wow.
Crazy.
It feels like yesterday,
Yeah.
but then we've lived a lifetime in 10 years.
Yeah.
Feels like.
I know.
You were running out to the gas station to get those tacos
Oh yeah.
for breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh, let's
Laredo-
talk about
Laredo
those.
Taco Company.
Stripe.
Because he's
Stripes
he's a
tacos.
bachelor. So he's like,
They're so
Yes.
I'm not
good.
gonna feed my guests for breakfast. Because we didn't just come to town, we crashed his apartment.
He's like,
I love
stay
it.
Stay
with
with
me.
you.
He gave us his room.
You sleep
and
on
where
the
did
floor
you
in your
sleep?
living room.
On the
I
floor.
slept on the floor. Yeah.
There's no way you could have slept on the couch. The couch wasn't that long. It was like a love seat.
yeah.
So you must have
A
slept
love
on
seat with no one to love. I was single and alone.
Oh, we sat there for hours. I remember we were going through Ben's Facebook. We're like, there's got to be somebody on here.
We gotta find you somebody, Jeremy.
Hey, let's talk about those early days because you guys were instrumental in this happening.
Bringing us together.
I mean, it didn't happen without you guys. But
That's for sure.
those, I don't know if we've ever talked about those early days. We've talked about how we got connected, but I remember that trip vividly.
Well, okay, we have to go back to how you got connected. Just a real quick recap for anybody who
That
does
was
not
crazy.
know.
That was really crazy. Just how.
oh yeah,
so
how,
y'all
how
were-
we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So
wild story.
we had flown into San Antonio and we were going to be meeting up with some of the family there. And we had some time to kill.
The
So
Lord had a plan because we got there hours before the rest of the family.
Yeah.
And we're like, what are we going to do in San Antonio?
Yeah.
Do we know anyone here? And I was like, wait a second. I have this friend on Facebook that he's been my Facebook friend for like a number of years since I was like 13. And, but I've never met him in person, but I've always been inspired by like his posts. He's always posting about the gospel. And so I was
Didn't
like,
have a picture
so
of
the thing that
himself
he
on there
said
either,
was,
did he?
yes, that was the thing. Ben said he's not self-focused. He never posts a picture of
So,
himself. He has no clue what this guy
at this
looks
point,
like.
I still have no idea what this guy even looks like.
Matthew Wade Garza.
Yeah. So he
Legend.
messages him and he's like, we're in town. And the guy said, some of the brothers are gathered at a house in San Antonio
They're eating
didn't
pizza.
Pizza.
to eat pizza. He didn't say he wasn't going to be there. So we roll up and we're like, where's Matt? And people are like, oh,
Well,
Matt's working.
first of all, pause. You're getting too ahead of it.
Let's take a break from this episode to tell you about Ava.
Ginger, I have a question for you. When this is the last time you thought about your credit score?
Oof.
Okay, if you're like Ginger and that's your answer, like, oof, or I don't remember, you're missing out on lower payments, better rates, bigger opportunities, and that's where Ava comes in, because Ava is an app that helps you build back your credit so that you don't have to pay so much on interest when you get a loan.
So we know that interest rates are brutal right now. And if you have credit card bills and you have car payments, it's a lot and it will take over your budget. So there's so much to think about. And Ava is the solution.
Yeah, it's a credit building app that makes it super easy to improve your credit fast so you can get better rates on loans, pay off debt faster, and keep more money in your pocket.
So for just $6 a month, you can potentially save thousands.
Yeah, download the Ava app that's spelled AVA. And when you join, use our promo code GINGER, JINGER. You'll get your first month free. The offer is only for our listeners. So use this promo code GINGER, get your first month free. Hey, that's for the Ginger and Jeremy podcast listeners only. So get the Ava app, use promo code GINGER to get your first month. Thanks, Ava. Now go get yourself some good credit. Hey guys, we're going to take a quick break from the episode to tell you about ZocDoc.
So I just have to say, Jeremy, you have the hardest time making a doctor's appointment, going to the doctor.
It's true.
You put it off like it's the worst thing. But when a medical issue comes up, we're sitting there Googling, oh no, what could this be? And
I've got about 3 of those in my mind right now that
yeah, like you wake up and you have neck pain or your foot hurts. Your foot's been hurting. And
my
I've been
heel's
like,
been hurting me for
go
about
to the
8 months.
doctor, go get your foot checked out. And I think that this is going to be the solution.
Yeah, so part of the problem for me is I'm too busy. I'm not, who do I go to see? My heel hurts. What am I supposed to do?
So ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment.
So that's the kicker for me is the instant appointment, because I might realize I need a doctor's appointment, but then I can't stand the phone calls. I can't stand trying to figure out the schedule.
Scheduling.
But if I can go online and instantaneously book, it's the same reason I have a problem with Amazon orders, because it's just instant. And so ZocDoc is like one-click shopping for doctors, but you can book an appointment, go to the right person.
Yeah, they have 100,000 doctors.
Good night.
And so there's across every specialty, and there are just so many options.
So you guys should definitely check this out. It's been super helpful for us. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/ginger. That's ZocDoc. ZocDoc. ZocDoc.com/ginger. I keep saying it because it's fun to say. ZocDoc.com.
Now back to the episode.
Matt, I call him on the phone. He gives me his number. I call him. I said, hey, man, we'd love to hang out if you got some time. I mean, we're here in San Antonio. And he says, great. Well, you guys are at the Riverwalk. There's some Christians nearby. There's some brothers from our church. They're having a pizza party. I'll send someone to pick you up.
That's true.
And so he said, this other guy, he'll pick you up in this silver SUV behind the Alamo. So just you see this silver SUV pull up behind the Alamo, hop in, and he'll take you to the house.
Sounds like the beginning of a murder mystery.
It does,
And so we did. We
That's
waited
wild.
there. We walked up, and there rolls up this silver SUV. We
Glenn
jumped in,
Ferris pulls up in his SUV.
and he
jumps
takes us
into
to
a
this
random
house.
stranger.
And sure enough, there's
it was Jeremy's house.
a bunch
So,
of Christians eating pizza.
Here's my vantage point from that side of things. I'm in Laredo. At that point, I was preaching in Laredo. I'd go down there. I'd come back on a Sunday. And there was this homeless guy, Bobby, who was in a real tough situation. And so we decided we're going to help Bobby out. We tried to help him out in Laredo, but it wasn't working. There were some bad, seedy characters around Bobby. So we get Bobby. He comes with us up to San Antonio, and I'm taking him to a homeless shelter in the night. And I get a call. No, I get a text from somebody in the church going, "You'll never guess who's at your house." So I just start guessing like random people. And they go, Ben and Jessa Seawald. And the reason I'd known you guys is because the pastor's family who I was staying with for some time would watch the show, and I would always make fun of it. And so I would take pictures. I remember one time I was at a place, and you gonna put a passing as well? I'm at a place. I see a picture of you guys on a magazine, like People magazine, and I take a picture of it and like send it with like a sarcastic text to all those girls, like, "Oh, look at your favorite people on this magazine," So that's how I knew you guys because of them. So then they go, "Ben, just see what." I'm like, "You're kidding me? Like they're not at my house."
That is so funny.
So I come back and I walk in and I see you, Ben, and I'm like, "What's up, dude?" And we just start talking.
Yeah.
And here is my first impression of Ben. I'm talking. You asked me probably a leading question, like, "So what do you do?" So I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm pastoring at this church." And I finish, and you go, "Hey, where's the bathroom?"
Yeah.
And I went,
Life
"Oh,
happens.
it's over there."
You're like, okay, I've just been talking to guy's ear off, and he has to
I
go to
just
the
thought
bathroom
like,
so bad.
he's not listening to me at all. Like,
All I need to do is go to the bathroom.
Okay, so here's my first impression of Jeremy. He walks in and he's in this sweater that has this particular collar, and it comes down and has a button. And it was Ginger's favorite kind of sweater.
And the reason you know that is because we would always go and like style our younger brothers.
We would always pick out those, the clothes for the brothers or whatever and go shopping for them.
Yep.
And so when I saw that, I was like, I wonder if that guy's single. And I thought, that's Ginger's favorite kind of sweater right there.
hey,
He's wearing
all it takes to impress Ginger, the right kind of sweater, and you're in.
Oh my.
Oh my goodness,
So
I love it.
you come back and we're chatting. There's probably 20 people at the house or whatever. And then you were like, "Hey, dude, let me get your number. Let's stay in touch." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So that's what we did. And
Way to go,
here's
Ben.
something about Ben. I was thinking about this about you yesterday because we were in the car coming back from the beach, and someone called Ben, who you and I met 9 years ago. We went to a juvenile detention center
Yeah.
and we're sharing the gospel with this kid. And 9 years later,
Wow.
there's a call comes up on Ben's phone. He goes, "Oh, that's," and I'm like thinking, but you know what else? First I thought, wow. And then my second thought was, yeah, that's Ben. Like he just invests in people and he just consistently just stays pouring into their life.
Very
So he
pastoral,
ended that
too.
call by going, "Hey, well, why don't you just finish up reading the book of Galatians? And next week we'll pick up where we left off." And I'm like, 9 years later, he's still doing a Bible study
That's
with
awesome.
a kid who was at the time in juvenile detention, now is in big boy.
Yeah, he's a man now.
Yeah, but he's in big boy jail. And he's still doing a Bible study with him.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
that was Ben. So I didn't know it at the time, but when Ben was like, "Hey, let me get your number and keep in touch," we kept in touch. And and then you invited me out to a Dallas conference,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You showed up.
a Big Sandy conference.
Yeah, well, you had like called and well, you said something like, "Hey, if you know of any godly single girls, like,
No, I remember that text conversation. I might still have it. I said, "How can I pray for you?" And you shared something. Then you said, "How can I pray for you?" And I'm like, "Bro, I need a wife."
It's lonely being in the ministry. And
It's
being
lonely
single,
in
right?
Laredo. And you went, "Well, I know a few girls." And then it was like a couple months later, you invited me out to this conference in Big Sandy.
yeah, man.
And so that's how, dude, pulling up to that conference, it was wild. I first met Ryan. Remember Ryan?
Yeah.
And he comes up in a golf cart. It's like, "What's up, dude?" And I'm like, "Hey, man, where am I?" Like all these massive families, they all have these huge RVs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like buses.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling into this camp like, where am I? They're playing volleyball. Everybody's dressed the same. I was like, what am I? And then Ryan pulls up. It's like, "What's up, dude?
Yeah, man,
Get on board."
we had an agenda though, didn't we? We were like, I mean, that's kind
I
of
remember
the main
meeting
reason we
you.
were there is like, all
Yeah.
right, we got to set up some meetings. We got to get some conversations in.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you're a
It's
sneaky
only
guy.
this many hours from Laredo, so you could like drive up.
Yep. And
Here's
spend
another
time.
thing. Here's another thing I've got to say about Ben, because he's got this like, okay, he's planning and scheming to set me up.
We
Ben's
Jessa
matchmaking works.
Jess
10
is
years
massive
later
behind
from
it, too.
that, you just set up another couple that we just attended their wedding in Arkansas a few months ago.
Hey,
Yeah, that's
2
crazy.
out of however many that didn't work.
That's actually
A lot
true.
of fails.
Are those the only
Love
2
it.
that have worked? Me
Yeah, I
and
think
Ginger.
so.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you just put a bug in someone's ear, put a suggestion, and then see what God does from there. Sometimes
Oh,
it
yeah.
works, sometimes it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
So,
But I mean, that's pretty successful. It
yeah.
really is.
Well, praise the Lord.
I love it. Well, I remember meeting Jeremy. I remember that meeting because we were just staying outside. This is how I remember it, at least. And I was wearing this green dress thing. We were about to go get family pictures down by the lake. And Jared rolls up. And I met him because I had heard quite a bit about him because of y'all. You told me quite a bit about Jared in this ministry
That was
he was a part of.
Part of Jessa's strategy.
But at
You
the
got to
same
start
time-
dropping, like
Yeah.
talking this guy up,
Subtle hints.
Not that you need to be
Don't
talked
bring him
up,
over.
but she just started talking about you.
Okay, real quick. Ginger had to step out to feed the baby. So Jessa is going to, as her twin, you're going to finish her story.
So we're driving on the campus there. Ben and I hopped in Jer's car and we're rolling on like the back side of the campus. There's nobody around. And Jeremy is crawling. And I said, Jeremy, you are driving like a grandma. Speed up. And he said, the speed limit sign says 25. And then you went into this story about how one time you were driving a pastor and you were talking to him and you were cruising along and you started speeding. You didn't know it. And that the man just looked over at you and said, son, the law of God is behind the speed limit sign.
Wow.
And how that made an impression on you. And that made an impression on me. Now,
Whoa.
I've never been able to speed since then.
Seriously.
Yep. Nope. I feel that conviction.
We still think
instantly.
about that story.
Here, Jeremy speeds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ginger's-
Jerry, you've gone back.
I
You
have
regressed.
completely forgotten about that.
But we're here to remind you. We've come to...
Okay, but here's the reality. In LA, so yesterday I was doing 80 and a 65 and there's a police officer on the side and they don't react. You can't, in fact, if you're going the speed limit, you're in trouble. Like
Yeah.
you're going to
You
get
probably
hit.
get in the flow and whatever,
It's
you know,
the
whether
flow.
you're going 5 miles per hour or 70 or whatever.
Now, I know I just
Yeah.
confessed to, is that a misdemeanor? No, it's not. You go with the flow. You got to be,
Yeah.
but out here in LA, it's different.
It's different. It's not Arkansas.
It's wild. And what's funny is when I first moved to Texas, so I'm from the Northeast in Pennsylvania, and you would go easily 10 over and nobody would notice. And then I drove to Texas from Pennsylvania. And I think once in Louisiana, I got pulled over and I was going 81 in a 70. And the officer's kind of upset, comes up and says, do you know how fast you were going? I go, or no, he goes, you know why I pulled you over? I said, was I going too fast or something? He said, you were doing 80. And I went, no, he said, you were doing 81. And I went, oh, officer, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing 80. And he goes, so you admit you're going 10 over? And I went, yeah, I'll be right back. So he goes, and I'm like, looking at my dad like, wait, what's the issue? I'm going 10 over. I thought I was going 10 over. Comes back, writes me a ticket for 10 over. I was like, what?
Good night.
So then I get
Yeah.
to Texas, like a day or two later. Same thing. I'm going like 8 over. Pulled me over. I'm going, what's the deal? And at one point, I get pulled over a third time, like a few weeks after I moved to Texas. And I got off of this ticket because I literally was so exasperated. The cop comes up and I went, officer, look, I'm from Pennsylvania. We go 10 over. I've gotten pulled over 3 times now. I am not used to this. Like, I'm sorry. I got it. And he just goes, all right, just slow it down. And I'm like,
Whoa.
thanks. Yeah, I was so exasperated.
Wow.
I was
Well,
like,
we would always say, oh, they'll give you 5, you know, but then,
Right.
or I heard a police officer friend of ours say that their rule on their end was 9 in their mind. So if you're going 9 or more over, then they'll pull you over.
oh, wow. 9
So
in
I don't
their
know.
mind.
I had this framework in my mind and I was like, oh, I'm okay with going 5 over. I would always set my cruise right at that. But then after that conversation, Jared did something.
Gosh,
You know, it's convicting.
man, I got to go back. I would love to hear from a police officer in LA to see what is the moral, ethical thing
Yeah.
to do.
Plowed over.
Yeah, you're going to get plowed over.
It's
in
right.
the
Make
hallway.
excuses for yourself. It's okay.
Yelling
It's
stuff
okay.
out. I don't know if you can hear her on the mic. That's so funny. Okay, so those early days, man, those were wild early days. And then here's just to finish the evolution of like your involvement in this whole thing was, so I started having an interest in Ginger. And I remember you saying to me, because you started to get more bold and you were like, hey, have you thought about Ginger?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Ginger. And then you sent me a testimony video that like you you used to do these YouTube videos. You like filmed her sharing her story.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, she's a sweet girl. And I'd seen her obviously and met her. And then I'm like, yeah, I think I'd like to get to know Ginger. And it was you said you should come on this missions trip to El Salvador because you had all these guys who were interested in Duggar girls and they'd come around and maybe act, you know,
Going on the mission trip.
But you were like, come with us on this mission trip. It'll give you an opportunity to get to know the family, give them an opportunity to get to know you, and you can also hang out and get to know Ginger a little better. And I think that really sealed the deal for us. Right, Ginge?
Yeah.
Right, Ginge?
That's awesome.
The mission
mission
trip sealed
trip.
the deal.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
And I wasn't even able to be on that mission trip. So I'm like
Right.
sitting there the whole time. Y'all don't have cell service really
Because
well.
you were pregnant.
I'm like, what is going on down there? I need to get a report.
Oh yeah,
I need
anytime they would share any photos from the trip, Jess would be like zooming in and there he is.
Were
Oh,
you
there she
not on
is.
the mission trip either?
No,
No, we weren't
Because
on that
Spurgeon
one.
was about due in November, right?
Yeah, I think so.
something like that.
Or maybe he was brand newborn.
He was born in November or no,
I
December?
don't remember which direction that was. I think he had just been born.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay, so talk to us about your early days here. Like, Ben, give us a little bit of how did you and Jessa meet? Talk about those.
So my family grew up and we were part of a pretty small church. And my parents they told us, hey, we'll take you guys and we'll visit other churches in other places, give you more opportunities to meet someone that you might be interested in. Just kind of broaden your horizons a little bit. Because we're homeschooled as well. Small church, homeschool, but we weren't part of a homeschool co-op even.
Yeah.
So outside of our immediate friend group, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to just meet new people.
Hey, can I pause you there real quick and ask your thoughts on this? So I was talking to some people who are single and they're getting older and wanting to be married. And my advice to them, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, and don't forget where you are in the story, but it coincides with what your family did. I told them, switch up your habits, like your socializing habits. Because you see the same people every week, all the time, and you go to the same events. Like, switch it up, visit a different church, go to different events, hang out with different people, sign up for this, sign up for that. Like,
Right.
broaden your horizons. That's kind of what your parents did.
Definitely. Yeah, that's very good advice. And that's really what my parents did. And so we went up from central Arkansas to the northwest part of the state where her family lived. And we had a sort of a connection between our families, a mutual friend. And so we ended up going to her family's church that Sunday, that weekend. And that was our first real interaction, which wasn't much. My sisters and I, we worked together. They would go, see, if I just walk right up and start talking to her immediately, and if I show too much interest, I was afraid that would frighten her away. Another fanboy, that's seen the show, he wants to date us or whatever.
Were you a fanboy who had seen the show who wanted to date her?
Yeah.
Technically.
Okay, wow.
So she would have seen you for what you were.
But I wanted to, come across a little less aggressive, like
Of course.
just not make her feel awkward.
Okay, what was the pact with your sisters?
Well, my sisters would go up, they would form a friendship because then, say you have one meeting, it's easier for a girl to get another girl's number and keep up a connection there.
This was
Versus just, I'm probably not going to get around to getting a phone number on my first interaction.
Sure.
So my sisters would go up, they would say, "Oh, you got to meet our brother. He's so awesome." And I would do the same thing for them, like, "Oh, here's my amazing sisters,"
I love it.
when there was guys around. So we'd kind of talk each other up, help each other out.
This is how guys have to strategize.
Yeah.
It's a tough world out there. You
So
got to get a guy's attention.
Keep up good sibling relationships.
Yeah.
Those can come in very handy.
Okay, so you also said that because you had 3 sisters directly under you, that you would watch like the chick flicks with them or like watch like Pride and Prejudice, like the classics, and you'd be like
I love that movie.
strategizing. What is it about Mr. Darcy?
Well, yeah, initially I was like, why are they spending 5 hours watching this chick flick, this Pride and Prejudice period drama? Like, what in the world? And so, but I didn't have anything better to do. So I was like, I might as well watch this and see what all the fuss is about. Why are all the girls so enamored with Mr. Darcy? What do I need to learn from this guy? And so I started watching it. And
Did his Riz translate to the modern era?
What's Riggs?
I hope.
Is a feel?
That was my
Showing
goal.
age.
That
His
was my goal.
charisma.
But
Oh, okay.
yeah. So, but yeah, anyways, sure enough, my sisters connected with, I think mainly they talked to Ginger because Ginger's pretty outgoing.
Yeah.
Jess was a little quieter, a little more reserved initially, but I remember them talking to Ginger, and Ginger invited them to a conference. And I told my parents afterwards, I was like, I know it's in like 3 days, but we have to go. This is the opportunity. This is the chance.
So the whole Seawald family, by the way, I love the fact that you didn't just have a wingman, you had like a wing family.
Oh, totally.
You had sisters
I love
and
it.
parents who were like, whatever, Ben, we need you to get hitched, so we're going to help you
That is
however
so
you need.
funny.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, he didn't actually say anything to me on that first meeting other than he walked up and he said, "Is that an iPhone?" And I was like,
great first line, right?
I said, "Yeah, it's an old one." And that was like,
Those are our first words.
that was all you
Was
said.
it
That
really?
was all I
First
said.
words.
We said nothing else until your family rolled up at the conference. And you came in and I was near the registration helping put my siblings into the kids programs or whatever. And you said, "Hi, I'm Ben Seawald." Okay, so he had grown out this little like, what do you call that? Yeah, goatee. He had grown out a little goatee. And he was young. He was 17 and I was 20. I didn't know he was that young. If I would have known that he was a teenager and I'm 20, I'm so grown up. I don't know if that would have changed things right off the bat, but I didn't know for months how old he was. And I thought, well, if he can grow facial hair, he's got to be like really, close to my age. So that fooled me.
Welcome back to the show, Jen.
You didn't have a driver's license at this point, right?
No.
You didn't have a driver's license. You weren't even driving.
But this motivated me to get my driver's license.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about
We're
that.
going to get into that.
Let's talk about that because this was really funny.
Okay, so getting a girl really motivated me whenever I was about 16, 17, and I spent a lot of time playing computer games and such. And my dad would come by and just say, "Son, it's time to be a man." When I became a man, I put away childish things. He just kind of quote a verse to me here and there, and I would be like,
No, but it did make an
he's
impact.
right.
You sold
He's
your
right.
gaming console.
"He's
You were
right."
like, I need to grow up.
And but then it was when I met her and I had a reason to take road trips up to Northwest Arkansas. I was like, I really need to get my own driver's license. I have a truck. I need to get this show on the road, or else somebody's going to swoop in and take her. So I remember I got my driver's license, and it was like the next week I told my parents, I was like, I think I'm going to drive up to Northwest Arkansas. And my mom was like, "Oh, son, don't you think you ought to drive around town a little bit more and get some more experience before you take a 4-hour road trip?" And I reluctantly agreed. I was like, "Okay, I'll do that."
Give it a few more weeks.
But yeah, it was like a few weeks later. I remember I got up early Sunday morning. I don't know if my mom packed me a sandwich or what, but she kind of saw me out the door. She's like, "All right, good luck, son." And off I went.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I was
story is so
surprised to see him show up again at church because I knew that their family had been in town for like a baseball game or something that first time. And then he showed up again and I was like, oh, this guy's back.
So you noticed him.
So we did have a conversation then, and he said he alluded that he was wrapping up his studies at the community college and he was thinking about transferring to the University of Arkansas. So he wanted to check out the area.
Right.
Well, I can't come to find out over months and months of him coming up, maybe once a month to visit our church. The only thing he checked out in the area was church and then my family's house because my brothers would be like, bro, come over and hang out.
You got to check out the people.
He has to play some flag
So
football.
two locations. Yeah.
That's
But
hilarious.
you brought a bag of
I did
sandwiches.
eventually.
But here's a big win.
Contribute
Here's
to the
big win
potluck.
number one for Ben is you noticed him.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
that's the battle.
We also had a very small church. And
But you noticed
most everybody in the church was like under the age of 16, probably, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
including Ben.
Like, so there was
Just
just about. He turned 18 the week after we got an official introduction. So then he was, bumped up a little bit.
Sounded
but-
better. Yeah.
At least you're an adult. So where was I going with that?
Oh, it was easy to notice him because small church.
There were no other guys. So I noticed him right off. I was like, oh, there's a cute guy. Like, there aren't any other guys that are around my age or even remotely. But then I was in like full on denial because my sisters, after several times of him coming up to visit, they were like, oh, that guy definitely likes you. And I was like, no, he doesn't. He's thinking about going to the university, so he's just checking out the area. I was in full on denial up until the point where he like asked for my phone number. And then I was like, well, he didn't ask any of the other sisters for their phone number. So maybe he likes me.
Did you give it to him?
Yeah. Oh, he said, we were having a theological discussion. And he said, so we can continue our theological discussion. But then the first thing he did was text me and say, how about we write out our testimonies and send them to each other? And I was like, this is not the theological discussion we were having. This is way too personal. What are you doing? Yeah.
Well, I can't, that surprised me when she told me that because I thought for sure she knew because
I thought you were being obvious.
Because whenever I asked to get her phone number, her dad called Michelle over and Jess was standing right there. And he said, Michelle, Ben here is asking to get Jess's number. What do you think? And Mrs. Duggar just exploded with joy. Like you'd have thought we just got engaged. She said, we've been praying for this day for so long. Like, this is wonderful.
Okay, there's backstory here.
And I was like, well, this is progressing quickly. I just thought I was going to get a phone number. Now it seems like we're engaged. Like, all right.
Funny.
So
my parents had been asked to come and speak at his homeschool graduation with a bunch of other homeschool kids from the area where he grew up. So they had gone down there and everybody got up and gave like a little, did you give a little speech or they just told about?
No, they just told like a little
they told
short
about
bio.
Your dreams and ambitions and stuff like that. And when Ben had come across the stage and they had told about like his goals and stuff like that, my dad was very impressed with that. And so he had leaned over to my mom and been like, oh, that's, you noticed that, right? You noticed like they were.
Yeah, they were handing out the diplomas, at the homeschool graduation.
They had already been impressed by him. And then, then this happened. Which also the getting my phone number was kind of a funny thing because he didn't really know like how to approach it in my family. I was the first daughter to be in a relationship. And so he didn't really know, like, do I just walk right up and say, like, can I have your phone number? Or do I need to like ask the dad permission to get her phone number or whatever? So he just kind of did a hybrid. He like walked up to me and he's like, I'm thinking about asking your dad if I can have your phone number. And I was like, cool. Like, I'd never had a guy say that. They would just usually just get my phone number.
I think why I did that is I was testing the waters a little bit. Like, if she reacted.
Am I like, oh, awesome, great.
Very, like, no, like, oh, then I would know, like, I'm not even going to go to the trouble.
Yeah. But so I think you were trying to gauge, like, feel it out, like, okay, what does she think about me?
Trying to figure this out,
Moving this along here. Yeah, but I thought that was cute. Anyway, yeah, so then my parents, like, said, I don't know if you just want to talk about theology. They talked to him. I didn't. I was. Yeah,
well, her dad says, I think there's a little more to this than just talking about theology. And Jess is standing right there. And of course, at this point, I'm not going to deny it. I just kind of shrugged and I was like, well.
I denied it. I said, no, it's just the theological conversation we were having.
I can't believe you didn't pick up on my cue there, though.
I was just clueless.
Hey, it worked out.
So, okay, here's an aspect of your relationship that Ginger and I have talked a lot about because it's not. So, come on back, love. This little guy, Finn, he's happy, but babies take a lot of attention. Have you guys noticed?
Yes.
He wants to be on the podcast.
Yeah, he does.
His little sounds are
He's been on it before, but he's just, man, he's cute. But you guys start your relationship and it's intensely public, right?
Yeah.
Like, so how did you ease into that? Because for us, we actually like not secretly dated. Well, I guess secretly dated us according to the public. Yeah. But it wasn't a while before it was like, okay, we're ready to go public with this thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there were things like preparation for me, like, okay, they're going to dig into your life. And like even the crew members would tell me, like I remember Bill telling me, like, you ready? I'm like, ready for what? He's like, oh, like a wave of attention and criticism and scrutiny and all that.
Yeah. So right off the bat, as soon as we were in a relationship, Ben went on his Facebook and changed his Facebook status to in a relationship.
That's what you did back then.
It is what you did back then.
So he didn't even think twice about it, but then it was like instantly public. So I think if we could go back and change it, probably if we wanted to have more privacy.
Now,
there
how did
for
they
a
know
while,
he was connected to you
I don't know.
to watch that?
I don't even know. I think
Was
probably
there
like
pictures of
family
you?
and friends probably started talking and then it got out.
Got it.
But I think if we could go back and change it just to give ourselves a little more privacy on the front end, we probably would have like talked about like, just him being more aware of like, oh, this is just, you're not sharing just with your Facebook friends, like family and friends. It's going to go out. And just kind of give that.
If I remember correctly, initially, whenever we just were first texting, I don't think anybody really knew at that point.
Oh yeah.
So we did have
we
some
did text
time
for a while.
We had a lot of conversation just over the phone, over text in those early days.
For the first couple months, yeah.
By the time it went public, by the time our relationship went public, we were both pretty certain that, hey, this is the one.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know if we were prepared for that. Like we weren't planning to announce that day.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, what I'm saying.
What was the windfall from that? What happened when you went public unexpectedly?
Oh, I mean, I don't think there was like negative reactions or any like negative effects other than just, I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to have your own little secret, the privacy of having your relationship kind of on the down low for a while. But it was fine, honestly.
I don't think that we thought about it all that much. I think we were just so excited to be getting to know each other, and the focus was on one another. There was that in the periphery, in the background, but it wasn't really just all-consuming.
How did that public, how did the public scrutiny or the public attention put pressure on you guys in those early days?
So I think I appreciated having those first few months of just texting and calling and stuff like that, just without everybody knowing. I liked the privacy factor there for a while. Because so much of our life was in the limelight. And so it was nice to just have something that was like just between us and our families or whatever for a while. But also that was something that we had to discuss as our relationship progressed, is because my life was so public. It just seems like, oh, you wouldn't care, like anything, just put it out there. Mm-hmm. But he and his family were very much just like, tell everybody, talk to everybody. Even a lot of like my friends, like a lot of people in my contacts list in my phone wouldn't have known that I was talking to this guy. But like he just wears everything on his sleeve. So he just tells everybody. So I remember the first time that I visited his church, like a lot of people at my church still didn't know that like we were texting, we were talking, that I like was getting to know this guy. Because I just wanted to kind of ease slowly into this and not make it go public, I guess. But then when I visited his church for the first time, everybody in the church, his little church, everybody knew that we were talking, and they would come up to me and treat me like we were like getting married or something. They're like, "Are you Jessa?" And I was like, "Yes, I am."
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was cute. It was so sweet. People were so excited for us. But like he was much more public than I was earlier on, I guess. And maybe some of that was just kind of being like a little bit more guarded or whatever.
We kind of had to learn to be sensitive to each other's way of doing things, I guess. But I remember we had a few conversations of just like you realize if you put this out publicly, or if you say this, everybody's going to.
Was that an adjustment for you? Having to figure out how do you navigate that?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm sure.
We had some conversations about it, but I don't remember it being like a terrible learning curve. It wasn't traumatic in any way. But yeah, it just added one more thing that we had to work through and talk about and learn to be sensitive to each other in as well.
Well, I think we wanted to be pretty certain that we really, really liked each other before bringing it into like the television world. Because I feel like, obviously you can't always control that, but once you kind of talk about like, oh, we're together, like we're a thing, and then that person disappears from the show, well, that's just weird. And then you get all that. It's hard for them. It's hard for you, So we wanted to be pretty sure of the direction that our relationship was heading before we went on camera.
Right.
Mm. And so
there's enough pressure. There's enough pressure as is.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, like, is this person the one for me? And then you have millions of people looking on.
Right.
And then if you do break up, because there have been breakups on
it
TV.
Happens.
But then everyone's going, why? What happened?
Yeah. People read into
Who's
it.
this? Whose decision?
I don't think that I think by the time it did start to go pretty public, I was pretty certain, like, hey, I want this to go towards marriage. So I wasn't really thinking about, like, what if it doesn't?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just 18-year-old me. I'm just like, hey, you know, this is great. We're doing life. This is the one. I don't care if everybody knows it. But yeah, like, definitely that is another layer to it that you'd have had to.
I don't think I was
It was good to consider.
not on board either. I think I was on board, but I don't know. Maybe I was just kind of savoring the quietness of it all.
It seems like you were a lot more kind of happy-go-lucky, maybe naive in the sense of like, hey, I like this girl, you know, I don't want to be alone. Whereas Jessa had been getting interest for years from people, and you'd had a lot more exposure in that sense, and you'd had siblings. You're the oldest sibling. You'd seen siblings in relationships, and so you were probably a little more reticent of like, well, let's see if things work out. And he's going, I met this great girl. She's wonderful. I'm in love. We're getting married.
I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it.
Yeah, exactly. Is that Elf from Will Ferrell from Elf?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's like different, did that create like tension? Were you at points like, hey, dude, chill, like calm down?
I mean, we definitely had some conversations, just you
Yeah.
know, preferences on that regard of like, hey, like, I don't know.
I seem to remember there might have been one or two conversations like that where she's just like, hey, you know.
Not that I wasn't certain about him, but I just liked the quietness of it for a time.
Yeah, yeah.
But then also you can't stay there forever. Like at some point I did want the world.
Yeah,
to
and the only like weird thing for me is like we'd be sitting there talking, and then out of the corner of my eye, all of a sudden I would see this camera inching closer. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, but I'm not supposed to look at the camera though. Oh, okay, I see. Like I knew I'd grown up watching her family show, so I knew the deal. But it did take a little getting used to, just like, oh, okay, like we're talking, but now we're on camera. Okay.
Right.
That's so funny. I thought you were going to say out of the corner of your eye, you would see one of my siblings scowling at you.
Well, I saw that too.
Because that would happen. It was so funny. Going into, before I was in a relationship, I was like, when I start getting to know a guy, I want every single one of my 19 siblings to love and adore him and give their blessing and approval and just be BFFs with him and all this stuff.
That's a recipe for you're never going to get married right there.
High expectation. And okay, none of my siblings didn't like him as a person, but I was the first daughter to be in a serious relationship. And so
there was a little more suspicion, I think, because I wasn't from their like friend group, their circle. You know, I'm this stranger, you know, this outsider. And so they're like, yeah, there was a little more guarded, a little more suspicious of me.
Right.
Well, and I think some of my sisters, it was probably like, they were maybe just like, who is this guy coming in to steal our sister away?
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember Joy especially, it was so cute. She would sit there and she'd be like, who is this guy? What are you? It was like, she would just kind of give us this eye. Or she would tell us like, you need to move away from her. Like
you're sitting too close.
Yeah, she would tell us things, which was so funny. Then when she was in a relationship, we would be teasing her, Joy, do you want us to do to you what you did to us?
No, she
didn't give us that hard of a time.
Great.
But she would definitely give Ben the stink eye and be like, I'm watching you.
Oh, I know the stink eye.
You know?
Hey, I needed it, you know?
Yeah. So you have...
you probably did.
You had camera lenses staring at you. You had little sibling lenses staring at you.
Yeah.
That's a lot to go into.
Yeah, it was.
At some point, I had to realize, you know what? Not everybody has to like him to the degree that I like him, in the sense that I'm the one who's marrying him. So like, obviously I don't want anybody to hate him. If anybody had a genuine concern, I wanted to hear that. But no, it wasn't that. It was just like, who are you taking my sister away? Right. You know, like.
It was a new thing because thinking about like, okay, are you going to move away?
Which I thought I was for the first good, 8 or 9 months. The plan was I was going to move down where?
To like Hot Springs or Little Rock. Now, okay. So I do have to say, I was along on this ride with you. I was able to sit there, be your chaperone at that time. And I remember going down to Little Rock, and there was one time, or Hot Springs area. And there was one time that we were riding in the truck.
This is great.
And going back to Ben's driving. For some reason, I was along for the ride on most of your relationship. I knew the ins and outs of a lot of things, but...
Yeah, you were right there between us.
One thing, I was between you and the truck.
Because it was like this single...
Yeah, we switched.
I switched. Because I was like, that's weird.
You're like, that's strange.
To my guy.
But there was one point, though, that for some reason I missed out knowing about Ben when Ben got his driver's license. So we were sitting there and we were driving along on the back streets
3-seater truck
in Hot Springs, I believe. And anyhow, Ben just casually points out, oh yeah, that's where I went off in the ditch when it was icy. And he's just casually mentions that. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'll take that into consideration. But you were just whipping around those back streets. And here and there, I was like, okay, I don't know if I should give him driving tips. Then the moment happens. He said, or you said
I said,
something. Oh yeah, something about him driving for 9 months. He's only been driving for about.
He's pretty good for only
been driving for 9 months. You're a pretty good driver. And I immediately froze and I was like, 9 months? So then I started giving him driving tips because I was like, freaked out because I am the type of person who we had all the sibling drivers who would take their turns learning to drive. Whoever got in the driver's seat first, even if they're 14, they just got their permit. They would drive the family to church in the 15-passenger van. So I'd make sure I'd hop out of the van and ride or drive a Suburban or something else to church because I could not stand to sit in the back of that car thinking my life was in their hands. So
funny.
But when she said that, he's a pretty good driver for that. And I was thinking, then it started to add up. I was like, wait, so if you've only been driving that long and you were telling me how you just went off in the ditch in the winter, that was just a couple months ago when you went off in the ditch. And that can happen to anybody. But I was like, bro, I don't know if I like
holding
this.
On extra tight over
and then
there.
I did start saying, maybe you should slow down, brake before the curve. Yeah.
Man,
it was great.
Yeah, being along for the ride it took on a whole new meaning.
Oh, yeah, it
commitment
did.
At that point.
Oh, yeah, it did.
Yeah, and it was a stick shift too, so it was a little extra.
I was actually impressed that you were doing that for your first car. Stick shift in that little red Mazda or whatever it was, Toyota something.
Toyota Tacoma.
Tacoma, that was it.
350,000 miles on it.
My uncle's old work truck. I bought it from him
thing
with 350,000 miles already on it.
Do you consider that a truck when it's the small little ride? It wasn't even normal Tacoma.
Oh yeah,
it was a little.
Guys have little.
It was a little
money
thing,
when
but
he
it was
sold
strong.
that thing. He got
My uncle
good money
made a lot of money working, out of that truck. Hauling windshields
It was a good
around
little
the back.
truck. Let me just say, it was a little tight in there.
It was little.
It was a little tight in there.
I liked it because I felt it was unpretentious. I felt like he didn't roll up in this big oversized Dodge, being like, oh, look at me. He rolled up his cute little truck and he wasn't self-conscious about it. Like he wasn't like apologetic or embarrassed. He was just like,
let's go.
I'm Ben. I'm doing my thing. This is my ride. And I was like, I like that. Like it was humble.
Small town, humble.
I like that.
That's good. Way to go.
Have you guys celebrated 10 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Last November.
As you look back on your first 10 years, has it gone how you thought it would go?
It seems like a blur.
I know.
So I don't know how we thought it would go, but it's like you blink and it's like, oh, whoa, we've been married for 10 years.
I know.
Like you see old pictures and you're like, that seems like it was yesterday.
I know. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's been in so many ways way more amazing than you could ever imagine. Like you can't dream of a relationship getting better. Like you think you're so in love with the person on the day you marry them. And then with each passing year, just like we've just fallen more in love. Like I feel like I just love him so much more than I ever thought possible on the day that we got married. And, just in the hard times, in the good times, when the kids are sick with a stomach bug and you're both up all night tag teaming, throwing stuff in the laundry and just hanging in there, all the postpartum seasons or whatever. But yeah, just I think in my opinion, he's like 1,000 times more handsome than the day I met him, and I thought he was the cutest guy in the world.
Okay.
He's always saying like, oh, I need to put off about 10 pounds. I'm like, babe, you look amazing. Like you look amazing. Seriously. He's got this great.
Well,
in his
let's
More than a goatee now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to that handlebar mustache. He was head for handlebar.
Oh no.
He did. He's talking about getting rid of the beard again.
Are you gonna go just for the stash?
Right.
Is
I
it
like
the
the
season?
mustache look?
No.
I like it.
Yeah.
You do that sometimes, right? You go under the mustache.
He does.
And he says it's just high maintenance because if you're trying to shave every day or whatever, it's not as easy. But then again, all the beard products you use.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but over the 10 years, I mean, I don't know if it's gone exactly like we thought it would go, but not all that different. I mean, I knew I wanted to be in ministry. I didn't know exactly what that would look like. We knew we wanted to have a decent number of kids, maybe like 6 or 7 or 8, somewhere in there. And here's number 6 due in July. So, I mean, yeah, I don't feel like it's gone all that much different than we thought it would.
Are you going to stop with 6 or do you think you're going to keep going?
That's the question. If you ask me right now, I would say yes. But I think we've said that ever since about 3 kids. It's been like, oh, yeah, this is the last one. And then, about 1.5 years, 2 years later, I'm like, babies are just so cute. We just need to have just one more. And then I used whenever it was like number 5 with George, our last. I said, I'm number 5. 5 is such a special number in my heart.
And then
we should really have 5.
Then you remembered me.
Actually, I did use that. I said, my best friend was number 6 in the family.
Yeah.
We should really have a number 6.
She did say that many times. She was like, we got to at least have 5 because I'm a number 5 in the lineup.
She's like, remember Ginge?
I said, that wouldn't work out so well for like, Josie or something. I was number 19, so.
Oh, mercy. Oh, my goodness.
So this is something that a lot of couples, though, it can create a lot of tension. Like one spouse wants to have more kids than the other.
Yeah.
Or there's just a different expectation there.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of people that have just really struggled through that as a couple.
So you guys feel like you're on the same page?
We haven't always been on the same page. Like there have been times when we've been like, well, are we sure we want to have more? Is this where we should stop?
Right.
Yeah, we had some pretty big conversations, I think, before this one.
Yeah.
Because I think he was like, I'm content here. And I think the main thing is like wanting to know that you have the bandwidth to pour into each individual one. And, if he's feeling like overloaded with work and then like, am I getting enough time with the kids that we already have? And I think that's definitely something to take into consideration.
Right.
I don't think it's just like this, that doesn't matter. Like that's a huge deal. You want to know that you have the capacity to love and nurture each one that God gives you. And so, yeah, so that was definitely something that we've had a lot of conversations about. And I think we take it one kid at a time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and I've kind of deferred to her because she's the one carrying the baby and birthing the baby.
Yeah,
and
like my health.
if she wants to go through all of that and have another one, like who am I to be over here like, no, we're stopping right now, So
this is going to be a little Ginger.
Yes, there you go.
So yeah.
Ginger. Nicole.
Well,
which one? Which one are you going to go with? Number 6?
So what is your guess on, you think it's a girl or boy?
I haven't told y'all yet.
I think it's a girl.
I voted boy, even though my gut is telling me girl, but I vote boy.
Wait, what did you say?
I said girl.
So historically, we've told y'all the gender of a lot of our babies because y'all are like far away, and I don't feel like people pester you and be like trying to, get it out of you.
Should we tell them right here live on the podcast?
Live?
Maybe
when we cut the
big reveal.
cameras. When we cut the cameras.
Wow, Ben, you're living on the wild side.
You'll have to cut it out, but we'll tell you.
Might as well live on the edge.
Okay, so the gender of your baby. What's the gender of your baby?
It's
That's so cool. Guys,
Well, congratulations. Thanks for telling us.
Thanks for telling us.
That's exciting.
just,
The
We're
world will know
not
soon.
telling, so we're going to cut that
Well,
part.
all
so
day,
you guys
no,
didn't see.
they're just going to hear a beep.
I like this. And we're not going to
We'll
talk
keep
about
the suspense.
Yeah, that's so exciting, though.
Yeah,
Thanks
that
for
is
telling
exciting.
us.
Well, look, this is unfortunate, but you've got a plane to catch. And
We do.
so we've got to wrap it up here.
We're going to have to circle back, guys. I feel like you're going to want more of Ben and Jess because this is just too good.
It's a lot of fun.
This has
We
been
love talking
great.
to you
too
guys.
good.
And you have
We'll
a
either
great
fly
story.
you back out for a podcast or we'll fly to Arkansas and
You come to our
bring some
studio.
of the. Yeah, we'll come to the Seawald studio.
We don't have one yet.
There's so much more to
design
talk
our
about.
studio.
Oh, we should set you guys up
Here's
with
the thing
it.
is like it's incredible to think that our relationship has gone back 10 years.
Yeah.
Your relationship with her has gone back 31 years.
Bless her heart.
But there's so much more to talk about. And one of the things I think would be really good to talk about coming up in the future is you both have experienced a lot of the same things as mothers, both in the joys of motherhood, but in the loss of motherhood, having lost little ones, in miscarriage. And in hearing both of you talk about that, you have so much insight into it. And I think you both have handled it from my perspective in a way that would be really a blessing to others. So it'd be, I'd love to have a conversation where
Yeah, I'd love
you
to
guys
circle
can
back
talk
on
about
that.
that. But
Should.
We love you guys. We're so grateful. I have a
We
particular
love
affinity for you because you've given me my wife, my children, my life. It's all. It's all.
He's done it.
The Lord
He uses him. He
uses
me.
people.
So
And he used you guys. So
Well,
appreciate that.
it's so special to have been a part of that. So
You know what we should
love
put
you
up
guys.
here? Maybe I'll put this up on the podcast for people to see. Is that first picture we all took together
Yes.
at that little gathering at my house in San Antonio?
Yeah.
And
do it.
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how different we look, or maybe how similar.
No.
I don't think Ben's changed it.
Well, he didn't have the thick beard, and he had his glasses,
And he had his hat that he'd wear like an Arkansas boy, like
yes,
with the
a little, like,
the hair coming down.
Yeah.
And then he'd put the hat here with the hair coming out.
I was
Or
trying to
pop it
figure
up.
out, man, what's the way, you know?
Yeah,
what's
what's
the style?
You found your style. You're good.
But we love you guys. We're grateful for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out
Thanks
today.
for sitting down and talking.
Thanks for
to us.
having
We
us.
love y'all. It's been great.